Okay, the start to this Richie Branson history series. Today I'm going to go over all of Richie Branson's major music releases. Now, he has released so much music, and I would say a large percent or even a majority of it has not been on what I am calling a major release. So your favorite music may or may not be on this list, but that's just because I had to make some sense of it for my own sake. So what we're talking about today is things like albums, mixtapes, EPs, beat tapes, so on and so on. And we'll be covering them in order of release date. So first, we have Popular Demand. This was released somewhere around June of 2011. This was seemingly the only project released prior to his nerdcore transition. It consisted of a few original songs as well as remixed versions of contemporary pop songs, with verses by Richie added to them. It was available to download on Richie's website when it went public in July of 2011, so I believe this may have been released before the website went live, which might be why RichieBranson.com didn't list a release date for the project. It may have been released on the Red Prodigy website prior to this, but I've not been able to confirm this yet. Many of the songs from this project were uploaded to the Red Prodigy YouTube channel between February and June of 2011, and it features guest appearances by Hugo the Boss, Bone, and Alter Ego. Next we have The Cold Republic Episode 1, The Empire Likes Rap, which released on February 12th of 2012. This is a mixtape based on Star Wars The Old Republic, an MMO that Richie was playing heavily at the time. This was the first nerd-focused project that he released, but not the first one he worked on. We'll talk about Richie vs. Capcom in another video. At the time, Richie sort of had two labels for his music, being Nerdcore, which focused more on a source material directly, and Nerdcool, which was just rapping cool and using references or imagery from a source material. And he would still use both labels to describe different songs on this project, with songs like Cold Republic and Skywalking being under the Nerdcool umbrella. It was available to download on Richie's website, and all the songs were released on Richie's YouTube channel prior to release, with the exception of the final track, Skywalking. The download included instrumentals for each track, and it featured guest appearances by Rosebud Red and Young Maverick on Skywalking. Now we have the Wing Zero EP, shortly after Cold Republic. This was released on March 20th of 2012. This was, of course, his first project centered around Gundam. It was based on Gundam Wing, a highly influential anime in Richie's teenage years. I don't think Richie used the Nerdcool label to describe this one, but it definitely had several songs that carried that spirit, such as I Think I'm Hero Yui. This release also marked the first song in Richie's Dreams series, where Richie would rap about having a dream that he was a different anime character before waking up. That first song in the series was the track Merquise Dreams. Only White Reflection and Wing Memories were uploaded to YouTube, both preceding the release of the EP, and it was available to download on Richie's website. This download also included instrumentals and an instrumental song, Last Communication, which was an original composition inspired by Just Communication from Gundam Wing. This project featured one guest appearance by whoever narrated the intro on After Colony 195. Next we have Otaku Tuesdays. A couple months later would come Otaku Tuesdays Volume 1, released on May 22nd of 2012. It started the eponymous series of mixtapes. For this first one, Richie released a new anime-themed song every week on his YouTube channel before collecting them into a mixtape that was available to download on his website. The project also included the first in his Otaku King series, called Otaku King. The anime series covered in this project were Cowboy Bebop, Initial D, Gurren Lagann, Outlaw Star, Gundam Wing, and Toonami. Not really an anime, but it had to bring back Toonami on it. So, not even a month later, Richie released the Nerd EP on July 10th of 2012. It was available on Bandcamp as well as major platforms like iTunes. This was his first project featuring all original production with no sampling or remixing. The two Toonami songs, which are the opening and closing tracks, were already uploaded to YouTube before the EP release, and Cloud City Problems was released in full on YouTube as a promotional single. The other songs only had short previews uploaded to YouTube to encourage fans to purchase the EP. The song Bring Back Toonami had also been reworked from its original form with instrumentation to imitate and replace the sample, sidestepping any issues with royalties or sample clearance. A couple months later, Otaku Tuesdays Volume 2 was released on September 25th, 2012. This was once again weekly uploads collected to YouTube on YouTube, collected into a mixtape, and it was available to download on Richie's website. The series covered in this project are Blue Exorcist, Gundam Unicorn, Death Note, Yu Yu Hakusho, Mario, kind of, with Otaku King 2, Tekken Tag 2, and Friday the 13th. A majority of these tracks were uploaded to YouTube prior to the mixtape release, except for Blue Devil, Iron Fist, and Crystal Lake. For bonus tracks, I am about 100% sure that Crystal Lake, the Friday the 13th song, was a bonus track, and I'm about 80% sure that Iron Fist, the Tekken Tag 2 song, was a bonus track, but it might just be intended as the final track. I don't know. About a month after that, the Ghouls and Ghosts EP by Mega Ran and Richie Branson was released on Halloween 2012. So most of these tracks were not uploaded to YouTube, and it was available on Bandcamp and major music platforms such as iTunes and Amazon. It may have also been a physical exclusive on the MC Chris tour that Richie did earlier that year, but I can't find the source where I heard that to double check and confirm, so it's possible, not confirmed. This marked Richie's first major collaboration with Mega Ran after their song Super Nintendo Sega Genesis had released earlier in the summer. Production on the EP was shared with Richie and Mega both producing some tracks, as well as longtime Mega Ran collaborators such as DJ D and 3. Richie and Mega also seemed to share the mic time pretty evenly on this one. The track list features Crystal Lake as a standard track, which is why I'm pretty sure it was sort of a preview and a bonus on Otaku Tuesdays too. The bonus tracks for this EP included Super Nintendo Sega Genesis, Dracula's Curse from Mega Ran's Forever Famicom DLC 2, If Books Could Kill from Otaku Tuesdays 2, and something called Young Cadface's Unused GNG track. This is an instrumental produced by Adam Ellis. I'm not sure why I didn't have this in my download from back in the day, but it is on Bandcamp now, so who knows. Next we have Achievement Unlocked, released on December 20th of 2012. This is mostly a beat tape, but also sort of a mixtape. It was released a year after the original Cold Republic song to celebrate the wild success of Richie's nerdcore journey, and was available to download on his website. The tape included instrumentals from previously released and unreleased songs, as well as some complete songs, most or all of which were released previously. It also featured the song file names left in their natural state to show insight into Richie's creative process. This may have just been a convenient reason to not standardize the file names, but honestly I can't blame him because that's a lot of work. We'll now jump ahead to May 28th of 2013 for Richie's first full album, From Guardia with Love. It was based on Chrono Trigger, a highly influential game in Richie's childhood. This was his first album that was developed and promoted explicitly as an album. It featured Chrono Trigger songs remixed into beats using recreations of the songs rather than samples to sidestep legal issues. The proceeds from this album were donated to the Extra Life Foundation. This album featured a guest appearance by the singer on Faster End of Time, whose name I have not been able to find, but they did a great job. This album also sort of included the bonus track Level Up. Now, what I believe happened is that this track was not finished in time for the digital release, but had been completed in time for the physical release, which I think occurred sometime later, because on my CD from back in the day, I do have Level Up. It's there on the track list. So, that's what I know about bonus tracks there. So, Richie and Mega Ran returned with a follow-up to Ghouls and Ghosts just 1 year after the first one, released a couple days earlier on October 29th, 2013, instead of Halloween night. It was available on Bandcamp as well as other music platforms. It features guest appearances from Kadesh Flow and Mr. Wilson on Monster Squad, and from Red Prodigy members Rosebud Red, Young Maverick, and Bamboo on the song Villain. The Bandcamp page does not list any production credits, but to my ear it sounds like most of the tracks were produced by Richie. The song Jekyll and Hyde does stand out to me as possibly being produced by Mega Ran, but I'm not sure. The closing track also appears to be an orchestral composition by Richie, which would mark one of only 2 times that standalone orchestral music has appeared on one of Richie's projects. And the one bonus track for this project was the instrumental of the song Monster Squad. So next we'll go to 2014, where the only major project released was Otaku Tuesdays Volume 3 on August 26th. This was once again weekly YouTube uploads collected into a mixtape, with weekly having a very large asterisk on it, and that asterisk is the 8-month-long hiatus that occurred between December 2013 and August 2014, but the uploads were weekly on either side of that hiatus. This project marks the other occasion where standalone orchestral music appears on a Richie project, with the Overture and Fugue on Otaku King 4. The series covered in this volume were Fist of the North Star, Attack on Titan, Hunter x Hunter, JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, One Piece, Sword Art Online, and Kill la Kill. The project was available to download on Bandcamp, and most of the songs were uploaded to YouTube except for 1 minute piece and only a preview of Rao Dreams. Now, 2015 is our next big year, with Otaku Tools being released on March 7th. This was related to the launch of Otaku Gang, a group founded by Richie Branson that has continued to make music throughout the years. This was a beat tape that included roughly 50 instrumentals, with some from previous Richie projects, some used on future Richie projects, and a lot made exclusively for this tape. It also included the song Mecha God, including its instrumental and a cappella track. Now, I can't necessarily provide a source to back this up, but I believe this beat tape was hugely impactful for a lot of artists, myself included. Richie released this for free, allowing anybody to use beats for any of their own projects, as long as it was not for profit. And having access to this many free beats was huge for me, and I'm sure it was huge for a lot of other aspiring hip-hop artists. And this project was available to download on Richie's website. Next we have Life After Death Star. This was released on November 27th of 2015 on the Otaku Gang SoundCloud page. This was a mixtape co-produced with Solar Slim, which used a cappella tracks from the Notorious B.I.G. placed over beats sampling various Star Wars soundtracks. Being based on Notorious B.I.G. and Star Wars is significant, as these were both likely highly influential media in Richie's childhood. I don't exactly have a source for this either, but I'm pretty sure this was wildly popular even outside of Richie's nerdcore fanbase. The one anecdote I have to back this up is that around this time I stumbled across a bootleg vinyl print of this mixtape in a record store, so clearly somebody thought it would be popular enough that they could make money if they printed copies of it. So shortly after this, Richie and Mega Ran came back with Ghouls and Ghosts 3, released on December 25th of 2015. It was available for purchase on Bandcamp as well as other platforms. This third entry was still Halloween themed, but released on Christmas for a sort of Nightmare Before Christmas feeling. It features production by DJ Organic on Savages and by Vince Vandal on Killer Instinct. It also features guest appearances by Storyville, Kadesh Flow, Andrew the Only, and One Up Creative Mindframe. The song Runaway, produced by Richie, was a song from the Nerdcore VPC Vocalist Producer Challenge in January of the same year, although the Nerdcore VPC is definitely its own entire video. The song First to Go features an instrumental that was released earlier in the year on Otaku Tools as Capcom Gargoyle, and this would be the last project released before the emergence of Richie's symptoms that would later lead to his throat surgery and cancer diagnosis. So I also have to talk about Round 5, which is a short Street Fighter themed EP by Richie and Solar Slim. Now this one is a little weird for a couple reasons. The first is that it's no longer available online officially, so that made it very difficult to find precise information about this release. Because it is themed around Street Fighter V, which released in early 2016, it's likely that this released within a few months, either before or after the game. We also know that one of the songs from this EP, Combo Fiend, was added as a bonus track on the Otaku Gang Marshall vs. Capcom mixtape, so we know that at least that song was complete when the mixtape released on February 16th of 2016. Beyond that, the only thing I can find suggesting a specific date is a page on AudioMac that lists December 6th of 2015, which would make it prior to Ghouls and Ghosts 3, but I'm not sure if we have any way to confirm that. Anyway, this EP included 6 tracks and featured a guest appearance by Martal. Now we'll jump ahead to 2017 for the Camp Camp Season 2 soundtrack. Rooster Teeth had Richie produce a song for the end credits of every episode of this season of Camp Camp, so the collection of all 12 tracks makes this into an album of sorts. The episodes of this season aired between June 9th and August 25th of 2017, and I believe the full-length songs were released either about a week after the premiere episodes, or they were released as a whole batch after the season concluded. That's another thing that's sort of obfuscated by things not being fully available, especially with Rooster Teeth closing down this year. Now Richie had produced a few Camp Camp songs prior to this season. The first season had a mix of different artists for the credits, and Richie together with Solar Slim produced 3 songs for the first season. After establishing that relationship with Rooster Teeth, they obviously decided to contract him to do songs for every episode for the rest of the series. The songs that he made for Camp Camp were also based on the episodes they were attached to, often including direct references to the events of the episodes. And this also served as an opportunity for Richie to explore many topics that weren't necessarily nerd-centric, and display more of his fun and goofy side alongside his cool rap persona. The other big thing of note is that this is the first large body of rap songs that Richie produced after being diagnosed with cancer, being released within a year of his first throat surgery. So next we have Camp Camp Season 3, which aired between May 25th and August 10th of 2018. I will take this time to mention that during the writing of this video, all of the Camp Camp albums have become unlisted from streaming services. It is not yet known why this happened, but a great member of the Camp Camp Reddit has done the critical work of re-uploading all the songs on YouTube on the channel Mr. Untraceable Firearm, so I'll put a link to that in the description. And this Season 3 soundtrack also was 12 tracks, like Season 2. And then we have Camp Camp Season 4, which aired between June 1st and September 28th of 2019. This one was even longer at 18 tracks, which, if we compare to all the other projects, would make this the biggest collection of rap songs that Richie ever released at one time. This season's soundtrack also features a guest appearance from Miles Luna, singing a part in character as his role David from the show. This would also be the last batch of Camp Camp songs for a while, and we'll pick up on that story later to see what happened next with Camp Camp. Now, this may not count as a major release, but there was no way I could not talk about the Genlock soundtrack. So shortly after Camp Camp Season 4, Richie produced 2 songs for another Rooster Teeth show, Genlock. This was an animated mecha show, and Richie's 2 songs both appeared in an early episode of the first season. I definitely wouldn't call 2 songs a major release, but the importance of this one can just be seen from the fact that Richie was so proud of this accomplishment that he left a tweet about it pinned for several years, reflecting on how sampling mecha soundtracks boosted his early career, and now he was producing original music for a mecha show. Quite an accomplishment. So, as far as I can tell, these 2 songs are not currently available online, and I don't think I've ever heard the full versions. They are both included in the track list on streaming platforms, along with the score work by David Levy, but for some reason these songs, along with a couple others, are grayed out and not able to play. So, to hear these songs right now, the best bet we have is just listening to the snippets where they appear in the show. And now we go to June 12th of 2020 for the long-awaited album. The album. It's From the Underground to the Stars, Richie's long-awaited album based on Gurren Lagann and the fight against depression. So this album was planned with a Kickstarter campaign in 2015, which was wildly successful and raised well beyond its initial funding goal. However, Richie would encounter a lot of hardships along the way, which ended up delaying the album for an extended period of time. Some of the things that kept him away from this album included a home invasion, cancer, raising a child, and of course the very depression that Richie wanted to explore with this album. Several of the songs on the final album were released across the almost 5-year span of its production, being sent to Kickstarter backers or uploaded to YouTube, but many of the tracks were not released ahead of time. The scope and theme of this album did shift over the course of its development, but it ultimately reflected the original goal of Richie being able to tell his own story instead of just telling the stories of other anime or video games. The album, at least the Kickstarter download version, included bonus tracks with Mecha God and 11 AM Before Deadline, and the album features a guest appearance by Mega Ran on Spiral Dreams and Kadesh Flow and IQ on 11 AM Before Deadline. So we now come to what is pretty much the most recent major release, with Ghouls and Ghosts 4 on October 27th of 2020. This time around, it features Kadesh Flow as the 3rd primary artist alongside Richie and Mega, and I have to admit this one might be debatable as a major release for Richie, simply because his presence is somewhat sparse on the album. It appears to have the least amount of production by Richie in the entire Ghouls and Ghosts series, with the sole Richie produced track being How to Be a Supervillain, putting a spotlight on Kadesh Flow over an incredibly epic arrangement that includes orchestral, choral, and organ sections. The download from Bandcamp includes a bonus track, which is a remix of the track Mixtape Candy, but I played these back to back, and I've honestly not been able to tell what is the difference from the original track. The album includes guest appearances by Ohm E and Prowess the Testament on Splatterhouse 2, Shubzilla on Eat Tonight, and Nemraps, Penny the Great, and Shao Dao on Horror Cypher. Now, we've pretty much reached the end of the story, so we'll just briefly look ahead at a couple projects that could still be in the works. So, Camp Camp returned with a short 4-episode season this year in 2024, releasing between March 1st and March 29th. Richie made new songs for each episode, but most likely due to all of the complications surrounding Rooster Teeth being shut down by its parent company, these songs have never yet had their full versions released before all of the Camp Camp songs were taken down. So, it remains to be seen if we'll ever get the Camp Camp Season 5 EP, if you will. And finally, the reason why I'm here, probably the reason why you're here, is because of the excitement for Richie's next album. After returning from a tour of Morocco with Megaran earlier in 2024, Richie has been on a creative streak, primarily themed around being an anime villain and a lot of Gundam raps, and has been teasing that all of this work will coalesce into an album. There was one teased track list that showed the name Demons for the album, but it's unknown if that will be the finalized title for this anime villain themed album. And there we go, all of Richie Branson's major releases. I chose this topic as my first video in the Richie Branson series, history series, because I thought it would be, like, quick and easy. I know about his major releases, but as I was working on the script, I kept realizing there was a lot of information I needed to add or check against references, and it ballooned in scope. So anyway, if you enjoyed this video, I must assume you're a fan of Richie Branson. And if you're a fan of Richie and you have cool stories, or information, or rare song files, please contact me through the Google form in the description. I want to make this history series with the best possible information I can get, but I'm only one fan with one fan's perspective, so I have a lot of blind spots. So I would love the chance to draw on knowledge and experience of others in bringing this series to life. And until next time, I don't know, I guess may the force be with you. Peace.